So far, you've been hearing from these individual youth, and they've had these amazing stories to share. It's time for me to channel my inner geek, my inner nerd for a moment, and sort of step back a bit from this picture and get into some more detail. Let's try to understand this diagnosis of disconnected youth on a more granular level. We live in this region in the Northwest with great potential. Potential for a life and a lifestyle that you can't find anywhere else. It feels like we live in a place where anyone can thrive. However, the reality today is really quite different. This is a community of remarkable contrasts. We have the 5th highest concentration of college grads anywhere in the US, in this city. But we also live in a state ranked 42nd in high school graduation. 42nd. And you can start to see this drift toward disconnection for many of these youth as early as the 3rd grade. Our education system today, it leaves a sizable number of kids behind. And 9th grade is the most common grade for dropping out. Think about that. 9th grade. The result? King County has 15,000 young people, late teens to early 20s, who don't have high school degrees, who aren't in school, and who aren't working. In other words, they're disconnected. And disconnection for a young person today has more dire consequences than ever before. It's a harder road. It's a difficult place to be. I think every young person should graduate from high school. Now, I know that sounds kind of bold, but when you think about it, maybe it shouldn't be such a strange idea. It should be the basic expectation of a society that cares about its youth and cares about our shared future. Our shared future. We all have a stake in this challenge. And solutions are best developed when you understand that challenge. So, what do we know about disconnected young people? What are the roots? What are they facing? At the Odessa Brown Children's Clinic, I meet a lot of families who face hard challenges and hard choices every single day. My heart gets lifted up every time I find them successful in the face of those struggles, and I have to tell you, my heart sinks when things like disconnection occur. Circumstances vary. Each story is individual. But there are also some commonalities. They all share this exposure to toxic stress. Experiences that cause constantly high stress hormone levels. Experiences that alter brain chemistry, that alter coping skills and resilience. Experiences that alter the way DNA works, that extend across generations and across communities. The families I work with, they face these stresses with remarkable strength. They have resolve. They're nimble. These families are energetic problem solvers. They're resourceful, and they don't give up. Parents look for ways to get by. They find work, but it's often that kind of work that has long hours and little pay. They couch surf to keep a roof over their heads. And they're always looking for ways to help their kids be active and avid learners. Parents deal with food deserts, or they rely on food stamps for the first 2 weeks of the month and a food bank for the second 2 weeks of the month. Parents lean on aunts and uncles and grandparents, knowing that the generational bonds between elders and youth represent some of the strongest buffers against disconnection. But the struggles they face, these are persistent and harsh and erosive. Families get fractured. Adults become debilitated by chronic disease. Generational bonds are lost. Options and supports grow thinner. The data is pretty telling. A July study of disconnected youth in this state found that 1 in 3 experience homelessness. 1 in 3 had contact with the child welfare system. Up to 2 out of every 3 of disconnected youth in this state are now parenting their own young children, continuing this really tough cycle. Youth of color are disproportionately represented in the ranks of the disconnected. 60%, 60% of King County's disconnected youth are kids of color. These youth and their families face systems that fail them: the judicial system, the healthcare system, the school system. One stat from school emphasizes this point. Black students are more likely to get punishment for the same kinds of behaviors that others engage in. They're 2.7 times more likely to be suspended or expelled. According to a recent Seattle Times article, that disparity in punishment starts early, and I'm talking like kindergarten and first grade. And for black youth, that makes them even more at risk than white disconnected youth to be in the criminal justice system. Almost 30% of African American youth are disconnected in this community. This is a statistic that places us second to last, just barely above Phoenix, among the 25 major metro areas nationwide. Second to last. Boston and Denver have half the rate of disconnected African American youth. Now I have to tell you, this is very, very hard for you to hear, I understand that, and it's even harder for me to talk about. These numbers, this information, this doesn't match our vision of ourselves. These numbers don't match up with the potential I see on the faces of the youth who come to our clinic every single day. They don't compare to the loving parents with unshakable faith in their kids. The numbers don't line up with the dedicated educators that I know. They don't match the neighbors that I know who look out for each other. They don't match the inspiring results I've seen when our community members, our compassionate leaders, our innovators, our investors and problem solvers, when we all get together and we get to work. The numbers don't match. They don't match the vision I have of our community, of who we are, of what we stand for. All youth should graduate high school. All disconnected youth deserve a path to get reconnected. The solutions are here. The energy is here. We see more than stats. We see people. We see people. We see real individuals. We see real families. We see real neighborhoods with great gifts and great potential. We are audacious, and we expect change. We do not accept this current state. We're driven by a common sense of connectedness. Our futures are linked. This is why, despite these difficult stats that are so hard to swallow, I have to tell you that I'm actually filled with hope. I'm filled with hope because I've seen how the United Way is getting to work on this issue. There's work for all of us to do, to join hands together, to make our neighborhoods, our schools, our communities into places where all youth can reconnect. So here, with some more details of how this is happening, is Vice President of Community Services, Sarah Levin.
Good morning. Ben, thank you for those wonderful words, and thank you so much to Anthony, Chris, and Saeed for telling their incredible stories. So we got the diagnosis, and here's what we're going to do about it. I'm going to talk to you about what you plus United Way are going to do about this situation. First and foremost, we're going to build on strengths, starting with the strengths of the young people themselves, like Anthony, Chris, and Saeed. Another strength is that the state has set aside money to get young people back on track. And finally, there are outstanding organizations in our community, like Youth Source, that have gotten down to work on this issue and are having success. Hundreds of kids have made it through those programs, earned high school credentials, and are now working or going to college. But here's the thing. Hundreds isn't nearly enough. We need to scale up as a community to serve thousands of young people. Our program, Reconnecting Youth, is going to change that equation. We're going to take the great work that's already underway, we're going to make it bigger. And not only bigger, but we're going to make it stronger. We're going to do this by gluing things together, creating a system that will surround the young people and give them everything that they need to succeed. A system that this time won't let them down. It has to begin with an acknowledgement that like you and like me and like Anthony, Chris, and Saeed, the young people are individuals. They all have their own hopes and dreams. They have strengths. They have fears. Our program is designed to meet young people where and how they are, and getting one-on-one support from a caring individual like a social worker. We will be reaching out into the community, identifying young people who have fallen out of high school, and putting them together with talented and determined social workers who will take the time to get to know them as individuals, what they want from their lives, and what they need to succeed in the future and get reinvested in school. In some cases, the barriers may not be that high. Maybe what they need is an ORCA pass or car repair so they can get to class. They may need a part-time job so they can help pay the rent at home. Or they may need childcare for themselves or for their siblings so they can focus on their studies. United Way will empower the social workers, the programs that we work with, to help meet those needs so that the young people can focus their lives on getting back on track. Once we get the young person enrolled, it's time to really find the best path to get them through high school and onto the future. We'll ask what classes they're missing. What skills do they need? What kinds of courses and studies resonate with them? What's their ideal way of learning? Once again, that social worker will be by their side, acting as an educational coach, helping show them the options for studies and showing them a way forward. From group classes to personal tutoring, online courses, experiential learning, there are tons of options, and that social worker and the student will sit down and identify the best path to get the young person their diploma. But we all know that can't be the end of the journey. Unfortunately, a high school credential does not get much in today's society. So throughout that one-on-one work that I've been describing, throughout this individualized instruction, there will also be something else. There will be inspiration and navigation towards what can come next. At times, as we heard from the young men earlier, we know that the young people think or can feel like the world doesn't hold much for them. They may not see a lot of people in their families or in their communities who have gone on to college or have a professional certificate, who have a steady, well-paying job. But we know in our society, in our community, that those opportunities exist, and we want young people to see those opportunities and to reach for them. So our Reconnecting Youth program is helping young people visit employers who need employees like them. They're going to learn about vocational programs, community college, and university courses that can help them get prepared. We're going to work actively with the young people. We're going to help them apply to school, get them financial aid. We'll shore them up as they walk down that post-secondary path. We'll even go to school with them, walk around campus before school starts so that they can start that first day with the confidence that they need to succeed. These kids, Anthony, Chris, Saeed, those 15,000 young people in our community, they deserve that kind of belief in their future, the commitment from all of us, and the tenacity. And we know that together, you and United Way, we can give that to them. Will it be easy? No, it will not. It's going to take the coordinated efforts of a lot of important players. Starting with school districts who know which young people have fallen out of high school. Organizations that can provide that one-on-one support, those incredible organizations doing that work in this community, that can provide the support to young people, help them overcome the obstacles, and help them get on the right path to get their diploma. Groups that can help with navigation to that post-secondary or vocational program. And those colleges and universities that can be the next step for the young people. Fortunately, that's what United Way excels at. We excel at bringing people and organizations together and getting big things done. I'm thrilled that today we're announcing a commitment to get at least 5,000 of these young people, 5,000 of these young people in the community who are disconnected through their high school equivalency and on a path to post-secondary education, what they need for their careers and their future. What will this cost? We estimate it at only $8,900 per young person who gets their high school credential, $8,900. And even better, United Way is committing to raise half of that amount. The other half will come from those state dollars that I mentioned earlier that would otherwise go unused. I hope that you will help us, that you will join us in tackling this community problem.